Well, good morning, everyone. Get my volume up here. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 12th day of February, 2020. So, no, I'm not going to say we have a one energy like I did yesterday. Jeez. It's not a 1 month, it's a 2 month. So, a month for bringing things back into balance and harmony and or maybe making a decision. We'll see. 12 energy today, though, is going to be a 3, so energy that's catalytic, mind, body, spirit balance, so a little bit greater balance than the 2. Spirit hopefully informing the whole thing. We'll see. Let's take a look at the astrology today. I did that for 8:37 this morning. We've got to take a water sample in, so I had to get going a little bit sooner this morning. So the ascendant is still in Aries. Let's see, we have the moon is in the 7th house of Libra right now, so good time for partnerships of all kinds, harmony, artistic pursuits. There's an in conjunct, though, with Mercury that's going to have us thinking before we speak today, and maybe exercising a little bit of compassion, or maybe it's that we're going to need some compassion. I don't know. With the moon and all. Sun's in the 12th house of Aquarius. Again, time for innovation, but also self-reflection. Anytime you've got stuff in the 12th house, it's time to go inward and kind of think about things. Mercury, also 12th house in Pisces now, time for inner reflection. However, your intuition is going to be high today. It's warm in the still room this morning. The temperature is starting to change outside, although I think we're supposed to get colder, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know why it's so warm in the house right now. We always turn the heat way down at night because I don't like to. I create my own heat, so, it's just I'm at that age, right? So anyway, semi-square Saturn still occurring today between Mercury and Saturn. Delays could occur and you could be frustrated, but understand that, and this is the hardest thing I have to understand, is that sometimes things just happen for a reason. And if things get delayed, maybe it's to either prevent something bad from happening, or maybe, a doorway is going to open or something that for you today that you didn't expect. So that was true yesterday. So, if it didn't happen yesterday, maybe it's going to happen today. Venus in the 1st house of Aries. Whenever you're in the 1st house, generally speaking, and it's with Venus, it's about going and getting a haircut or buying something new or something like that, something to make you feel good about yourself. And of course, when we do that, we, maybe we go get our hair done or something like that, or something that beautifies us. So that's really what you're talking about whenever the Venus is in the 1st house. That's what you're going to be doing. Conjunct Chiron, still time to heal relationships. Again, remain open if an apology happens. You just need to let that happen. Nothing wrong with being forgiving. Doesn't mean that you have to necessarily reunite with somebody, although it's always nice if you can. But sometimes, forgiveness is just about ending that energetic connection, that attention, that focus, really. If you just want to get into the neutral aspects of it, you're just letting something go. And just saying, what, this doesn't matter to me anymore. I forgive you. I forgive myself, whatever, for judging you. We never do that either, do we? But again, we still have a square with both the south and north nodes, and it's a strong one. Again, that reinforces this whole notion of future plans or directions could change. Doors could open. A sense of destiny is felt, maybe. And that was true yesterday as well. Mars is still in the 9th house of Sagittarius, so, focus on your metaphysical concerns or studies maybe. Jupiter, 10th house Capricorn. Career prospects are still favored. Advancement is still possible. So we're still looking at change happening. This has been going on, since probably the end of December as well. Saturn, now we're in the 11th house of Capricorn again. Reassessment. Saturn and Capricorn are about, focus and slowing things down and being diligent and taking a look at things. And when Saturn is in the 11th house, we're talking about relationships now. So it could be that certain group activities you've been engaging in are going to end. Maybe group affiliations will end. You might join a group, but typically speaking, you're looking at certain things coming to their conclusion And so that maybe the relationships were just temporary. So if you were in fact going to move on to another job, maybe that's what that's talking about, that there may be some work relationships that just simply end. They don't, continue on into your personal life. And that's okay. Uranus still in the first house of Taurus, still semi-square Neptune. And this has been kind of the underlying thing. And again, with Neptune, 12th house Pisces, illusions are going to be revealed. Deception has been occurring. We've been all experiencing in some way or another a long played con. Now, whether it's the most obvious one that we're coping with right now collectively, or whether it's something happening in our personal lives, either it doesn't feel to me like, obviously there's going to have to be someone out there who's being the con person, right? Who's conning people. There's going to have to be someone in that exchange that's doing that. But honestly, it feels like it's stuff that's happening to us from outside sources is what this feels like to me, but maybe not. You want to go within and allow it intuition and higher self to guide. If you know something isn't right, then it isn't. There may be a perfectly logical explanation for why it's occurring, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to feel that something is wrong. It may have nothing to do with you personally, but it doesn't mean that you don't realize that something is amiss. And so that's what I think that this is. Neptune, inner focus with the 12th house of Pisces, illusions are revealed. But basically, this is a time to explore, any of that, whether it's happening from within you, whether you're the one that's being deceptive or engaging in illusion or, believing in fantasy or something, putting your time and effort into something that isn't real. When you put that together, though, with the long played con, I think that something comes into focus, doesn't it? Maybe the group thing that's going to end, possibly. Maybe we've gotten caught up with a group or a cause that was based on illusion. And I think that's likely what a lot of this is going to end up being. And so you're going to have to let all that go and come back to reality and realize that you've been a victim to a con. And it doesn't feel good, does it? At all. Not ever. When someone deceives you, when someone lies to you. But when someone sets out to intentionally con people, to increase their income, to increase their worth, to increase their wealth, to increase their power, that's destructive. Any of it is, but that in particular is incredibly destructive. And, it's like when you come home and your house has been robbed. You feel a violation that is I've never had that. I had it happen at a business one time, but I've never had it happen, in my home. And it's just, but I can imagine what people say about it. You feel so violated. So that may be what is happening right now. And to me, that's what it feels like. It just feels like that's the level on which this whole long played con stuff is all about. So in any event, let's go ahead and get started with the reading. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you've come back, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone who comes here and checks in with the astrology and the numerology and geomancy and tarot and runes. We sort of all combine it all together. I know that seems like an auspicious task, but we do it 4 days a week. Anyway, let's get started and take our first 3 cards. If we need a fourth, we will. We'll take that. We did a 5th one day. First time I've done that. So I'll count to the 13th card and take that one for randomness sake, and we'll take the first card. Well, we've been having a lot of major cards. We've been having justice lately, a lot. 11th card of the major arcana, 11 energy, master number for illumination. Justice, of course, is pretty self-explanatory. We've got issues of justice again today. So either issues of fairness in your life or what's going on collectively. Oh, I think he's learned his lesson. Con artists depend on people's gullibility. and willingness to buy into what they're doing. Either the person has no choice, or they feel they have no choice, or they just don't really want to stand in their own truth. But, you know, whatever it is, we have the Magician, card 1 of the major arcana. So we have a 1 and we have an 11. Let's see if we get all 3 majors this time. It could happen. Okay, so let's get some tea. We're gonna need it maybe. It might be too hot still. Yep. Okay, so we have an 11, we have a 1, and we have a 14. So 5, 3, 8. So we have an 8 energy, and that's with actually reducing. Well, I'm not reducing justice. I'm adding it, and then I'm reducing it at the final out. You don't reduce the master numbers 11, 22, 33, all of that. You don't reduce those. You leave them alone because they're master numbers. We're in a 22 year, and that's the cosmic builder, the most powerful number. And so we're really in a year for a soul level rebuilding, remanifestation of things. I don't suppose it really matters where we put these cards. I think I'm just going to leave them in the order in which I pulled them, because you can do that. You can move them around, you know, to make sense. But I think I will start with the Magician. New beginnings, wholeness, unity is the number 1. We see the lemnis gate above his head, referring to cycles of life. He's in the as above, so below position with the scroll, likely the Torah, in his right hand held up to spirit. You see the garland above him, abundance. You see all of his tools on the table, the pentagram for earth, the chalice for water, the sword for air, and the wand for fire. He's manifesting spirit into form is what he's doing. It's the alchemical nature of our creation, basically. And he's blending air, fire, water, and earth with spirit. You see the lilies and the roses down below. Purity, rebirth, renewal. So what the Magician is reminding us of then is that we are spirit embodied into form, and that everything that we do from this point forward, particularly this year, you know, if we align in all of that energy, in higher self energy, in astral spirit energy, in source presence, then we can accomplish anything this year. We can bring things back into harmony and balance. When you look at the 22, you're looking at 2 2s. And what is the 2? 2 is about balance and harmony and alignment. Alignment within and then alignment with others. But what we're going to need to do, and I'll go with temperance first, we see the dawn of a new day on the mountaintops, don't we? As the sun rises between 2 peaks. Again, the sun rising between 2 something or other is a familiar theme in tarot. And so again, it's a new day, isn't it? We're blending fire with water. The angel has a foot on the earth and on the ground there next to the water's edge, and he's got the other foot in the water. We see lilies growing, not lilies, I'm sorry, water irises growing. Lilies. Water irises growing on the side of the bankman there. You see the pathway from the mountain coming down to the water's edge. So the card of temperance basically blends will with emotion. And of late, you know, when they're, let's just say, I mean, conceive of this for just a moment, think about it. When you have fire, you have a lot of passion, energy. If it's emotional, you know, you get radical thinking, you get unrealistic thinking, you get lack of boundaries, you get things that are unrestrained and uncontrolled, and you get change that is unrestrained and uncontrolled, because the water element is about change, isn't it? It's about emotions, but it's also about change. And the fire element is about our will. And so, you know, are we going to manifest change in a way that's unstable? Or are we going to manifest change in a way that brings spirit into the whole process, manifesting from the 22 energy? But as card 14 of the major arcana, it's a 5 energy. So we are talking about change. But it's a change that brings things into balance, isn't it? Which we're doing here. But here, we're balancing will we're balancing fire and air, aren't we? You see the red background there, the drape that's behind the Lady Justice's throne, likely the Queen. But I'm trying to get above that little, you see that line that's right in front of that light line. But she's holding the scales in her left hand, a receptive hand, the feminine side of self. And straight up to spirit, she's holding the sword in her right hand. So again, a soul archetype card. But what we're doing here with the magician is we're manifesting. And so what are we manifesting? We're manifesting balance between will and emotions and will and intellect. In other words, it's all got to come back into balance today and going forward. We need to realize that we're being played in some way, some shape, some form by somebody, whether it's the collective con that's going on in the country or whether it's something going on in our personal lives. We are basically in that position right now. And unfortunately, the only way we're going to get through this is to let soul guide. If spirit doesn't guide the process, then ego does, because, you know, there's your polarity, if you will. You know, when we say as above, so below, we mean that. It means that the below is supposed to be like the above, you know, not the other way around. Spirit isn't supposed to transmute into ego. Ego is supposed to transmute into spirit. I have a new book coming out. I'm putting the finishing touches on it today that sort of talks about this kind of stuff, about how we see all of it differently, and some exercises we can do to reshape our thought processes and thinking so that we start thinking from the standpoint of spirit instead of, you know, and understanding the energy that we're experiencing all day long and what that actually is. So look for that coming up. I'm not sure when I'm going to pull the plug on it, but I was working on it yesterday. So anyway, shameless self-promotion there. I think I'm going to do it. I don't think I'm going to publish it on Amazon's site, though. I think I'm going to do it with a different publishing thing because it'll go to more outlets, not just Amazon. So I think I'm going to use something different this time, but I don't know. I really haven't. Oh, Gerald Gardner's death is tomorrow. It's the anniversary of his death. The founder of Wicca. Anyway, I have little things that come up on my iPad here, little alerts from my calendar. So in any event, let's take a rune though. You know, it's sort of awe-inspiring when you get 3 major cards, because really it's soul coming in and saying, or spirit coming in and saying, look guys, you know, it's time to put all this stuff aside and we need to come back into harmony and into shared purpose with one another. That playtime is over, and whatever this was needs to end, because it's not helping anything. And if we don't understand and start learning that maybe the person we think is the answer to our prayers is actually the devil in disguise, well, not that I believe in a devil, but you get my meaning. Well, we have Rado. fifth rune of the Elder Futhark aligning with temperance today, really. We're going to draw this one out. If you were at if you saw the first in the Foundations in Magic Elder Futhark series, we've already been over Rado. I've done the second. Now this weekend, I guess I'll do the third in this series, the last one, the last group of Aets or eights or ites, however you want to say it. So we have Rado. Now, Rado is about, think rider and horse, think shared purpose, think integrative, or harmonious movement. Say it that way. Integrated motion. That's what I'm looking for. So we have Isa. We have Laguz, which is flow, another water element rune. We have Vunyo, which is fellowship and with other people. And then we have, well, Kenaz twice, once kind of, extended. Although I extended it way too much up here. So we have Isa, we have, the 11th rune of the Elder Futhark aligning with justice, alignment, balance, freezing situations into place, will development. We also have Laguz, which is flow. We have Vunyo again, which is fellowship, and then we have Kenaz, the light of spirit, the torch turned inward and outward. The more divided we are, the more we don't live in the Rado of the moment, right? We're not in integrated harmony with anybody. We're not going forward in shared purpose. But, if you don't, when you think rider and horse, what happens when you don't, you're not controlling the horse properly. The horse doesn't trust you. And so the horse is likely going to buck you off. It's certainly not going to go where you want it to go. And so that's the whole point. We're not going to go where we want to go if we don't go there together. It doesn't mean that we have to like each other all the time. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that oh, Tristitia, I believe. Where's my little notepad there? Well, I don't know. Yeah, it's Tristitia. Pretty sure. I don't know what I did with that little piece of paper. Oh, there it is. Sometimes I lose things. And I don't know how I do that, but I do. They're usually just right where I put them. Not Tristitia, Laetitia. Tristitia is the other way. So Laetitia is joy, and Tristitia is sorrow. And that's our geomancy rune for today, Laetitia, not Tristitia. And again, it's contained within Vunyo. The P right there. It's contained within that as well, the whole idea of fellowship and joy and happiness with one another. There was a time when, and maybe we were all living under an illusion, and maybe it was only that way for some and not really for all. But it's possible to heal differences and to come together and realize that whatever was keeping us apart was fear-based. And part of the long played con is convincing people of that there's a reason to fear the other. But Rado is telling us, the fifth rune of the Elder Futhark is telling us that we can't do that. That we can't look upon people as the other, but as the other side of self, if we expect to get anywhere. Again, we're not going to always agree. We need the inner friction, the inner nothies to create something new, maybe to decide, what, this is enough of this, let's go try something else. There's always going to be some of that goes on. There has to be. Otherwise, you just sit around and you do nothing all day long, right? You just become completely happy and there's nothing to do. There's no inner need to go find something else, right? Well, that's not who we are. And so there's always going to be that. And so, there might be some argument here and there over what that is. Well, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Everybody should have a right to express their opinions. It's just how we do it that matters, right? So I think that what the cards are saying, I think what Rado is saying, I think what Laetitia is saying, the geomancy rune, I think that what it's saying is that needs to be our default position. That is where we need to turn our attention to, not on conflict and disharmony and believing the long con, right? Now, this has been a running theme throughout, and I don't know. I think that between the numerology and the astrology, I think it reinforces all of this. We just keep coming back to this. And when I noticed this semi-square with Neptune, between Uranus and Neptune, and that whole notion of the long plate con, it's like, wow. I mean, did I just miss it, or is it new? Or we just, I don't know. Maybe I missed it all this time. Maybe I didn't, maybe it wasn't as strong an aspect. And so maybe it was always there. It just wasn't, coming into as full of force. And maybe it is because of what has happened. If it is referring to what's going on in the country, then it could simply be that it's reflecting what is happening now, that the Senate foolishly did what they did. I mean, it's the old fox in the hen house adage. You leave the fox there, the hens are going to die. They are. And that's basically what we're seeing now. So as long as you leave this person there, there's going to be more stuff that happens, and he's going to become emboldened, and he's going to do things that he shouldn't be doing, that would get any other president impeached and thrown out. So you ask yourself, why don't they want him to go? What are they afraid of? What do they want? What are they getting out of this? At the expense of everyone else. Trust is a really easy thing to maintain. You just don't break it, right? But boy, if you do, you can't build it again. There's always going to be that feeling inside of the other person that knows that, now wait a minute, you blew it big time before. You gonna do that again? Yeah, usually the answer is yes. So, it's just what happens. So I think that we have to be very, very aware of this whole semi-square between Uranus and Neptune, and Neptune's whole issues in the 12th house in Pisces. I think it's revealing where we need to, use our intuition to discover the truth. Because we're being played, we're being conned, we're being deceived. And soul's coming in today, spirit's coming in today saying, no, we're not. Let's wake up and see this for what it is. Come back into harmony, bring will in alignment with both intellect and emotions, and come back into the necessary harmony that's going to be required in order to get us out of this mess that we're in now. So, but it's a mess we're in together, whether we like it or not. So, again, if this is going on in your personal life, you're going to have to use intuition to figure it out if you don't already know what the source of this is. But if at all possible, step away from it. Just step out of it. Turn your back to it. If this is something where you absolutely do not have to insert yourself, then don't. It's better just to walk away than it is to really get into something like this, because it's going to be a battle of wills that you're not going to win. Just understand that the person who's doing this in your personal life is someone with a tremendous amount of power. Maybe power you didn't realize that they had. And when they try to stand up for what nonsense they're causing, they're not going to want to give it up. And that's the other side of this. People that act this way, they don't want to give it up. And so it could just simply be that you have to have a workaround and figure that out. If it's what's happening collectively to us and the government isn't going to do anything about it, then the voters will have to do something. So there's your workaround. You find another way of dealing with it. And that may be what you have to do now. Use the magician within to find your balance, speak truth to power, and maybe have to make a different kind of decision than you're used to making. So in any event, I think I'm going to close with that, and we'll see you tomorrow. Let's see, this is what? This is Wednesday. So yes, one more day, and then we have the weekend off. We have 3 days off. So in any event, check out the blog over there at Stepping Aside. Correspondences are going to go up here shortly. And, let's see, what else do I have to say? Oh, yes, the newsletter. Sign up for the newsletter. You can do that over there on the blog. There's a bunch of links underneath this video. I'm an affiliate marketer, and I do stuff like that. And so there's stuff like that under there. And also there's links to where you can find me, but there's a link to that newsletter. Also to the Patreon page, if you want to support me over there. Some stuff goes up over there and it doesn't get released to the public, only patrons. And some stuff does after a point. I'll release it like 3 weeks or a month later or something to the public. But if you want to see that stuff at a time or stuff that other people don't get to see, then sign up for both the newsletter and become a patron over at Patreon. And you'll get a little bit more stuff than what you normally see on the blog. So in any event, thank you so much for watching. And do come back tomorrow. Click subscribe. And be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.